All right, let's dive right into this explainer. Today, we are exploring a truly revolutionary piece of fiduciary infrastructure engineered by B Family Operations LLC. We're talking about something called the Institutional Digital Asset Operating System, or IDAOS for short. Now, if you're in institutional finance, you already know the massive, headache-inducing challenges around asset management, compliance, and auditing. You know the exact pain of trying to prove that your digital records actually match up with real-world legal and financial realities. Well, today, we're going to unpack exactly how B Family Operations LLC has completely reimagined this entire process. They are offering a way to engineer institutional trust from the ground up. And here's the best part. It is entirely without disruption to your current operations. Let's get started.
I want you to really think about that question for a second. Right now, what happens at the end of the quarter when the auditors finally show up? Your team probably spends weeks, maybe even months, bogged down in manual reconciliation, right? You're digging through fragmented PDFs, endless Excel sheets, and legacy database logs, probably fueled by way too much coffee, all just to prove your data matches reality. It's a painful, anxiety-inducing process, and it's filled with immense risk and massive operational costs. But what if you didn't have to rely on promises and manual checks anymore? What if trust wasn't something you just sort of hope for, but an exact mathematical calculation?
Because currently we're basically relying on two broken models. On the traditional finance side, the whole system leans heavily on subjective, human-mediated reputation. It is incredibly prone to human error, fraud, and of course those costly manual audits we just talked about. On the other hand, we have decentralized systems, like a lot of blockchain networks. Now, they solve the trust problem through distributed consensus, sure, but they are often completely unanchored and detached from legal, jurisdictional, and economic reality. So in both of these paradigms, institutional trust is really just assumed, and frankly, it's way too often misplaced.
So the absolutely crucial point here is, how do we bridge that gap? Well, enter the trust compiler. This is the core innovation at the absolute heart of the IDAOS framework built by B Family Operations LLC. Instead of relying on human reputation or some unanchored digital consensus, the IDAOS acts as a deterministic engine. It takes all that fragmented real-world evidence, contracts, bank wires, legal actions, the whole shebang, and mathematically compiles them into a canonical, cryptographically verifiable digital state. In this framework, institutional trust is absolutely never assumed. It is explicitly compiled.
And this is exactly how the IDAOS completely eliminates that trust gap. Think of it as the ultimate truth layer for fiduciary computation. The system treats every single asset's life cycle as a series of verifiable, deterministic transformations. This creates what they call a canonical state. It's a mathematically reproducible, completely audit-proof record of truth. It guarantees that every digital representation is strictly tethered to legally established, enforceable rights in the real world. In short, reality always precedes representation.
Now, I know exactly what you might be thinking right now. If you're a CFO or a chief compliance officer, the mere idea of upgrading your infrastructure probably sounds like a rip and replace nightmare. You're probably picturing months of downtime, agonizing data migration, and retraining your whole staff. But listen to this quote for a second. This right here is the absolute magic of what B Family Operations LLC has built. You do not have to discard your existing operational systems. The IDAOS is not some disruptive tokenization platform. It is pure fiduciary infrastructure designed to work perfectly with what you already have.
This approach is actually the entire foundation of their strategy. B Family Operations LLC positions the IDAOS as an integrity wrapper or integrity middleware. Basically, this means the system sits right alongside your existing enterprise accounting, fund administration, and ERP systems. Whether you're running SAP, eFront, FIS, or even just proprietary Excel-based cores, it requires zero rip and replace migration. None. Your current systems continue to function exactly as your primary day-to-day user interface, while the IDAOS runs securely in the background, doing its job as an automated cryptographic auditor.
So let's look at exactly how that frictionless workflow operates day to day. It's a super simple three-step cycle: propose, verify, commit. First, your legacy accounting system proposes a transaction, like say an LP unit distribution. Second, the IDAOS trust compiler intercepts this proposal and verifies it against your codified governance policies to make absolutely sure it complies with your fund charter. Third, if it checks out, the transaction is cryptographically signed and committed to an immutable event ledger. And if the transaction violates policy, boom, the system rejects it immediately. This literally intercepts dirty data before it can ever corrupt your institutional record.
But you might be wondering, okay, how does my messy legacy data actually talk to this super advanced cryptographic engine? The answer is reality adapters. These are lightweight, modular services provided by B Family Operations LLC. Think of them like a bouncer at the door. They sit at the ingress gateway and smoothly translate your existing system's outputs into the normalized events the Trust Compiler needs. Whether your current software is spitting out CSVs, XML files, SQL dumps, or API calls, these adapters seamlessly translate all that raw data into verifiable cryptographic evidence, again, without you having to change a single thing about how you currently work.
Now, we know any serious institution has a dual mandate, right? You absolutely must maintain total security and privacy over your fiduciary data, but you also need to interact with modern markets to maintain liquidity. Honestly, balancing this is the biggest hurdle for institutional adoption of digital assets. So, how does the IDAOS handle this massive tension between keeping things entirely private and securely interacting with the outside world?
Well, it handles it through a highly sophisticated dual deployment architecture. On one side, you have your sovereign vault. This operates entirely offline in a secure, air-gapped environment. This means your institution retains absolute, jurisdictional, private control over its fiduciary data with zero external cloud dependencies. Nobody gets in. But on the other side, you have the networked gateway. This operates online in a networked environment, seamlessly integrating with markets to enable global liquidity and real-time attestation.
And this brings us to the core hybrid advantage of the IDAOS: compute anywhere, trust everywhere. It doesn't matter if you are operating completely offline in your sovereign vault to protect your most sensitive master keys, or if you are operating online through the networked gateway to interface with the broad market. The mathematical truth remains exactly the same. The canonical state is identical in both environments. You get that strict, offline sovereignty alongside vibrant, online liquidity, without ever compromising the integrity of your data.
So what this architecture really does is actively shield CFOs and compliance officers. It offers three massive value propositions. First, you get institutional certainty. Trust is now a hard calculation tied directly to evidence. Second, you achieve audit-proof compliance, which is incredible and we'll touch on in just a second. And third, you achieve technology neutrality. See, the IDAOS specifies behavior, not implementation. You are never ever locked into a specific blockchain, database, or cloud provider. You own the truth layer entirely.
Let's double-click on that audit-proof compliance for a moment, because this is an absolute game changer. The IDAOS features a rewind and verify capability. Because it uses an append-only event ledger, auditors can literally instantly replay the entire history of an asset, from its genesis down to the current microsecond. You can prove compliance from day one, and you can answer regulators in seconds with undeniable mathematical proof. Those weeks of painful manual reconciliation, completely eliminated.
So the big question you really have to ask yourself at this point is this: are you ready to upgrade? Just imagine an operational environment completely free of reconciliation anxiety. Imagine a world where your everyday accounting system is backed by an integrity wrapper that mathematically proves every single transaction against your firm's governing documents in real time. B Family Operations LLC isn't just selling a piece of software here, they are offering a fundamental upgrade to a mathematically proven institutional standard.
And the best part? The path to actually get there is incredibly straightforward. B Family Operations LLC offers a really low-friction 30-minute intake call to explore what they call a shadow pilot. In just 30 minutes, you'll sit down and discuss your current operational bottlenecks. They will review your existing accounting flows. And again, that can be SAP, Excel, eFront, whatever you use. They'll identify exactly where those reality adapters would integrate. And most importantly, you'll receive a custom estimate for a parallel, non-disruptive pilot where the IDAOS runs quietly alongside your current systems to prove its value without an ounce of risk.
Look, if you are tired of audit anxiety and the endless grind of manual reconciliation, it is time to take action. You can book your 30-minute intake call right now by emailing them directly at bfamilyoperations.llc@gmail.com. Let me repeat that. Grab a pen. bfamilyoperations.llc@gmail.com. Reach out today to get your custom estimate started. Remember, this requires zero change to your current software. It's a completely non-invasive upgrade that perfectly bridges the gap between your offline security and online liquidity needs.
I'll leave you with this final provocative thought. The landscape of institutional finance is shifting rapidly. The old ways of relying on subjective human reputation and fragile, easily manipulated spreadsheets are quickly becoming a massive, massive liability. So, will you continue to risk your firm's assets on fragile promises?
Or will you reach out to B Family Operations LLC and engineer your trust as a verified mathematical calculation? The choice is entirely yours, but the future clearly belongs to those who compile their trust. Thanks so much for exploring this with me today.